A blood-stained hurricane swept across a desolate hillside, its furious roar 100,000 throats crying out in anger and agony. Crimson winds turned to a raging inferno, setting all ablaze. The sky burned, and a multitude of dark shapes flocked into the air, their wings alight, sparks trailing from their dark feathers. Dying shouts became the cawing of ravens, a rising cacophony that drowned out the wail of the storm. Millions had labored and died to fuel the greed of a few, but nothing remained of their passing. Lycaeus was no more. Valerius knew of it only from the old stories of tyranny and misery passed on to him by the Astartes of the Raven Guard, those that had been enslaved here and had joined the Legion after the Emperor's arrival. Now the moon was called Deliverance, its rock-creeped pinnacles and winding corridors a testament to the benefits of enlightenment and the determination of Lord Corax. The Raven Spire was quiet. All but a few hundred of the Astartes had left, following their Primarch, Lord Corax, to the Istvan system. Valerius did not know the details. Few, if any, did. It was this that so vexed the Prefector. The dreams might somehow be a call for help from the Primarch. How this could be so, Valerius did not know. All he had was a resounding conviction that he was needed at Istvan, and that he should go there to whatever fate awaited him.
I fear that all has not gone well with the fight against Horus.
Bran frowned.
What makes you think anything is amiss? Have you heard some word I haven't?
Not directly, no.
Look, this is probably not going to make much sense. I don't really understand it myself. I keep having a dream of burning ravens. It might be nothing at all, but it has plagued me for 7 days now. I fear that it is some kind of warning. I cannot explain it well. It is something that I just feel. All is not well at Istvan. A dream. You want me to ship out to Istvan against the Primarch's orders because of a dream? More than a dream. I'm sure of it. You are worrying about nothing. 3 legions, 3 whole legions move against Horus. 4 more will follow up their offensive. No matter what those traitors have done so far, they haven't the strength to contend against that. What force in the galaxy could Horus possess to fight such an army?
Perhaps you are right, Valerius conceded, though part of him was not convinced.
Maybe if I took my men there, just to be sure. If all is well, we can simply return. A few weeks lost and nothing more. I am right. Nobody is leaving Deliverance, least of all your Imperial soldiers. This is Astartes' business. We look to our own, and we will deal with our own. You must be ready for Lord Corax's return. We'll be in the warp and heading off to some other world soon enough if you're thirsty for action.
Valerius nodded, suppressing a sigh. In the face of such a blank refusal, there was nothing else he could do. Fire and blood crashed through the peace. Fire from the burning engines of the Thunderhawk gunship. Blood from the tears in his armor, rapidly thickening to stem the flow. There was no pain. No physical pain, at least. The psychological pain, the horror of betrayal, burned like an open wound in his thoughts. Most of the crimson drying on his black armor was not his own. Pieces of shrapnel protruded from its ceramide skin. Shards of armor from his bodyguard. Grisly lumps of flesh clogged the joints, slivers of bone trapped in strands of sinew and gobbets of muscle. He didn't know the names of those that now stained his armor. He didn't want to know. Corax pushed himself from the wreckage of the gunship, steadying himself with the aid of Commander Agapito.
You should have that wound seen to, Lord Corax. It is nothing. That same blast killed 5 Astartes. I would not dismiss such a thing so lightly. My body recovers. We have far more pressing concerns.
Commander Agapito knew exactly what his Primarch meant.
Casualty estimates are sketchy.
Tell me. Agapito shook his head in disbelief as he relayed the casualty figures.
Rough estimate is that 75% of the Legion has already been lost. Losses may be as high as 90%, Lord.
Corax groaned, hurt more by this news than the gouge in his flesh.
Give me a moment.
He turned away from the Space Marines as they alighted from the downed Thunderhawk. Many kilometers to the west, the Primarch could see the fires burning on the Urgle Plateau and the ring of hills around it. Tens of thousands of Astartes lay dead there. Tens of thousands of Raven Guard. Corax had never been afraid of anything in his life. Not the whips of the slavers, not hordes of orcs or armies of dissidents. This was something different. This was Astartes killing Astartes. This was the birth of mankind destroying itself. Corax allowed himself a few moments of grief, to ponder the lives lost, the fallen brothers in arms cut down by their traitorous brethren. He remembered the hasty exchange with Vulcan as the traitors had opened fire. The Primarch of the Salamanders had wanted to protect the drop site. Corax had argued otherwise, knowing that the field was already lost. It was not in his nature to stay in one place and allow himself to be cut down. With Vulcan's curses ringing in his ears, Corax had ordered his legion to retreat by any means necessary. The Tech Marine's helmeted head cocked to one side in dismay as he looked to repair the Primarch's damaged flight pack.
Leave it.
Corax cast his gaze over the Space Marines, looking expectantly at their Primarch. The valley was filled with a deep mist, but there was darker smog amongst the haze, the smoke of engines. Corax was crouched at an observation point high on the western side of the gorge, his 4 commanders with him. The Primarch had removed his winged helmet and listened intently, his superhuman ears better than any autosense that Technorati could yet devise. He could tell every vehicle by its unique timbre of roar and grind of gears. Rhino transports, land raiders, predator tanks, thunderstrike assault guns. This last told him who it was that advanced up the valley, for only one legion employed artillery of that fashion.
Iron Warriors.
There were growls of disgust from the officers around him. Of those that had turned traitor, the Iron Warriors were reserved for especial hatred. The Raven Guard had always considered them brutal, simplistic in their tactics. Corax had never voiced his doubts openly, but he had not shared Perturabo's approach to war. His former brother viewed conflict as a simple matter of exchanging punishment until one side capitulated. More than once, Perturabo had hinted he thought Corax cowardly for his preferred strategy of hit and run. Corax cared little for the criticisms of the other Primarchs. Corax was determined that the drop site massacre would not go unanswered. Perturabo's warriors would learn that sometimes the concealed blow was the most lethal.
I'll attack from the southeast, as the second wing of the delayed attack.
Is that wise? You disbanded your bodyguard into the other companies.
Corax stood up to his full height and unslung his heavy bolter, holding it easily in his left hand. The towering Primarch smiled down at his officers.
That was for appearance. Do you think I actually need a bodyguard?